Hey everybody, welcome to the Songwriter's Living Room. And tonight we're going to feature the songs from this show that I've been working on, that Steve and I have been producing, and my brother has been co-creating with me. And it's called To Dad With Love, a tribute to Buddy Ebsen. You might have heard of it. It's just a beautiful show of memories and memories, multimedia, music, and stories about my dad and his careers when he first started out in vaudeville and Broadway, and then came to Hollywood, and then got in the movies, and then got into television. But we're really more just focusing on the music, and there's so much to talk about the show. We could do, and we will do more web streams that kind of talk about that, because we're really in development. We're trying to get to the next step. So honestly, we're looking for another theater. We did it in a beautiful theater last year. We're looking for theaters. We're looking for people who can help us take the show elsewhere and get it to more people, more audience. So right now we're just going to play some track. It's kind of cool because we multi-tracked the shows that we did. So we have some tracks, some live tracks from the play, from the play with music, with our band, which is amazing. And so I'm going to sing to those tracks, and I'm going to play a couple of songs solo as well. And all the songs are off a record of mine called Scarecrow Sessions, which is where it all started. And I talked about that a bit. If you were watching on April 2nd, which was my dad's birthday show, we talked about him and the impetus for the show and how it came to be. But at the risk of going on way too long tonight, I just thought I would keep trying to move it along. It's about the music. We had some amazing players. Hopefully you can see our little multimedia, and it's nothing like what my brother can do, but it's our little PowerPoint, so that we can show some pictures and video along with the movie, or along with the songs. And these are actually clips that we use in our show and that help augment the storyline. So, but first I want to introduce you to the band. So this was our core band that we used in the last run of shows that we did for a month at a great theater in Hollywood called Theater West. On my right, on your left, is our wonderful keyboardist, Jeff Colella. He's terrific jazz player. So I was really happy that he could play with us. You will be hearing him tonight on piano when I'm singing with the tracks. And then next to him is our acoustic bassist, Danny Granville-Young. And he's also terrific as well. Yeah, me in the center, and then to my left is the fabulous Kim Richmond, who played woodwinds. He played sax and flute and clarinet, and he was delightful. And of course, the fabulous Kendall Kay on the drums. And I've known him for so long. He actually played on my Red record, and now he's here doing this show with me. It's like 30 years of collaborating, and he's terrific. So I'm going to take you on a little journey to set the mood. The music's all fairly vintage. The first couple of songs come from my dad's career when he was in New York. Actually, New York, and also when he first came to Hollywood to do the MGM musicals. So he started off as a hoofer. Again, a lot of you know this, so I might be repeating myself, but he and his sister took to dancing. Their father, my grandfather, was a dance teacher, and they became his best students, and they were really popular. They grew up in Orlando, Florida, and so they became a dance team, and they went to New York, and were sort of the rage. And here's a picture, I think. That's actually my dad when he first went to New York in his 20s. So cute. That is Buddy and his sister Velma. And they were just such a popular dance team in New York City, and Walter Winchell loved them and gave them rave reviews, and sort of got their career going in New York City and in Atlantic City. And this is a really popular dance routine from Broadway Melody of 1936. I'm going to play it for you right now. I think I'm going to play it.
You gotta sing before breakfast, croon a tune and rejoice. Before you use that coffee pot, use your voice. The whole world may seem funny, but it is good enough. If you run out of money, honey, put it on the cup and sing before breakfast. Never cry a thing before you eat that bread and sweet. Sing, just sing and sing and sing and sing and sing.
Again, I always wanted to know if that shoe hurt when he swung it around his neck, and how many times they had to do that take. He probably had a bruise. So sadly, the dance team was broken up when MGM they renewed my father's contract, and they didn't renew Vilma's. But so Dad went on to be a solo artist and a contract player for MGM. And the next movie he did was this movie Born to Dance, which I'm going to play now.
You'd be so easy, love, so easy to idolize all others around. You'd be somewhere yearning for, and honey, you'd be so swell to keep every little home fire burning for.
And we so grand at the game, so carefree together that it does seem a shame you can't see your future with me, 'cause you feel so easy to love. So that was fun. It's kind of like we're back there again, isn't it? Steve over here running the Pro Tools, the tracks. So, yeah. This the next song we're gonna do. Let's see if I can set it up for you. There's Dad in the Beverly Hillbillies with an actor named Phil Silvers. And if you remember Phil Silvers, he was a tremendous comedian. Actor who was the star of Sergeant Bilko. Now, he was a guest star on the Beverly Hillbillies. I actually met him once when I was a kid, and I had gone to visit the studio. I had recently, I think I had like torn ligaments in my leg, my ankle. Anyway, I was newly casted, so I had like this white cast on my leg, and I was hobbling into the studio. I was like 10 or 11. And I was really proud of this pristine white cast. And you know how people sign your cast? I was like, I am not going to let anybody touch this. I'm going to keep it beautiful and clean and white and not going to have any signatures or graffiti on my leg. And the first thing when I see Dad is he introduces me to Phil Silvers and says, "Hey, I think you should sign your cast." I was like, okay, great. So Phil Silvers was the first person to sign my cast. All right, maybe more information than you needed, but it's kind of left an indelible memory on my mind. So the point is that he also starred with Dad back in the 30s in a show called Yokel Boy, which also starred the Canova, the very talented Canova family, Judy Canova, and that family, and the standard that came out of that show is called Comes Love, and that was a request a couple of weeks ago, so we're doing it for you tonight. Hi, Jennifer. So, Jennifer Watkins was the most amazing hairstylist for the show and makeup artist. Put me together every night and for every matinee. She's brilliant, and I say hi to you, and I send you lots of love and hugs, and I hope you're doing okay. In this wild experience that we're having. Oh, cool. Yay. All right. Again, I'm trying not to go too long with every story here, but we're gonna do the song "If I Only Had a Brain," and that comes about in the show to talk about my dad's experience with the Wizard of Oz, a story that I only recently, I found out as an adult and was not told when I was a kid because it was such a painful memory for him, and he's so stoic that he just kind of decided he wasn't going to share that. And what happened is that he became very ill from the makeup, which was basically aluminum powder. And after they dusted his face over and over and over, he inhaled it, it coated his lungs like paint, and he couldn't get oxygen to his blood. So he collapsed. He went in the hospital, and he almost died. His system had a complete breakdown, his nervous system. And when he did come back, he was kind of relegated to a bunch of B movies, and he eventually left MGM happily because he wanted his freedom. And at that time, the studios really owned the actors, and they had to kind of do whatever they were told. And my dad was pretty rebellious and stubborn. And geez, so am I. I wonder where that comes from. And so they chose If I Only Had a Brain because actually, when Dad first heard about the role of the Wizard of Oz, Arthur Freed, who was L.B. Mayer's assistant, said, "You're going to be the Scarecrow. We had a meeting, and you're going to be perfect." But then, we all know Ray Bolger ended up with that role. They switched parts. So I'm going to do If I Only Had a Brain, but I'm just going to do it solo.
If I
have to say, it's just a little surreal to be looking at my dad's image in the Tin Man makeup while I'm here today playing this piano. I don't know, I just it's kind of an interesting, it's kind of wacky. A little bit. It's a little wacky. But okay. Yeah. That was probably one of the worst things that ever happened in his career, I think. And he rose above it, actually. 50 years later, MGM asked him to help them promote the 50th anniversary of The Wizard of Oz. And he was like, that's absurd. I'm not going to do that. But actually, it was a good move, and he did do it because they ended up putting all that footage at the end of that DVD. They put the promo reels, his pictures, they put his recording of If I Only Had a Heart out there, and he got credit finally on the soundtrack, which he sung on. He'd been on the soundtrack the whole time, but uncredited, so he finally got credit for that. So we are happy about that. All right, here's another little clip that we do in the show to set up this next song.
I love you, Little May.
I know you do, and that's just the trouble. It's a mistake you always made, Doc, trying to love a wild thing. You were always lugging home wild things. Once it was a hawk with a broken wing, and another time it was a full-grown wildcat with a broken leg. Remember?
Little May, there's something.
You mustn't give your heart to a wild thing. The more you do, the stronger they get, until they're strong enough to run into the woods or fly into a tree, and then into a higher tree, and then to the sky.
That's an amazing moment in Breakfast at Tiffany's, if you've seen that movie, where my father comes back to plead with Holly Golightly, who's Audrey Hepburn's character, because they're married, and she's run off to New York City. He's a veterinarian who lives in Texas on a farm, and so he's found her in New York City, and he's just begging her to come home because he loves her so much, and she is just fallen in love with somebody else and is not going to go back. And the look on his face, is so profound that when I was a young girl watching that movie, I would just cry. I was so moved by I knew it was acting, but I didn't really understand acting yet, but it was just a very moving moment for me when he comes back in that. So it sets up our next song, Moon River. Love that. All right. We're going to move into, I think, the next tune. We're going to do the St. Louis Blues. It's a special shout out for my friend Dawn Lee Wakefield's mother's birthday today. She was born in St. Louis. This song is a classic, W.C. Handy blues song, but it was also, it was in a movie that my dad was in called Banjo on My Knee, which is a terrific movie with Walter Brennan, Joel McCrae, and Barbara Stanwyck. My dad does one of his more signature dance moves, or it's one of his signature dances, that movie, but it's not a well-known movie, but if you ever get a chance to see it, it's phenomenal. Plus you can YouTube that scene, and he's just like, he's just so perfect. And you'll see, like, he almost looks like Jed Clampett, like an early Jed Clampett. He sort of has the same hat and jacket and coat, but he's like, 25 years old. But it's funny because the St. Louis Blues was the first song my dad ever taught me on the piano. And I would he'd come home from work, in this very house, like this is where I grew up, and he'd teach me the, he wasn't really a piano player, but didn't stop him from playing, he knew this. Jerky. I mean, of course, me, when I was playing, it was like, but it was cute. And so every time I think of that, I just have such a fond memory of my dad. So we recorded the song, and this band just killed it, so I'm going to sing to the track.
But
Kim Richmond on saxophone, Kendall Kay on drums, Danny Young, Granville Young on the bass, and I miss you guys. It's my bands. But we'll be back. We're gonna be back. We'll be playing again. I think I'm gonna share a clip for the next song. It is one of my dad's, another signature dance routine of his. He dances with Shirley Temple in the Codfish Ball. And it's from a movie called Captain January, again back in the 30s. And he had taught, I think he and his choreographer were given the task of creating the dance for Shirley. And she had so little time to rehearse that he was terrified the producer was going to call the number and they weren't going to be ready. But she's such a professional that, of course, you know, she learned the routine in like an hour. But he remembers when they were shooting the scene that he had to carry her, he had to pick her up and carry her, it was set on the docks of Maine, so there were a lot of barrels and crates that he'd have to kind of jump up on and dance around and hop off, and while holding her or dancing with her, and the executives, the movie executives, were like watching him like, if you drop her, if you hurt her in any way, you are dead. So like no pressure. So you'll see how intricate this dance is.
Come along and follow me to the bottom of the sea. We'll join in the jamboree at the cottage ball. Lobsters dancing in a row, shuffle up to Buffalo. Yelling fish way to and fro at the cottage ball. Bill and Hattie leave the eel through an Irish field. The catfish is a dancing man, but he can't, like the sardine can. They're stroking left and right, many groups in water night. There won't be a look inside at the cowfish ball.
routine, all these little signature moves that he has, this little, thing that he does with his hands, you can actually see that in other dances that he's done through the years and even before that. So we're going to do the Codfish Ball. Come along and follow me to the bottom of the sea. We'll join in the happily at the catfish bar. Minnows mooching in a row that fell off to Buffalo. The jellyfish sway to and fro at the catfish bar. Feeling Hattie leads the eel through an Irish field. The catfish is dancing mad, but can like a sardine can. Minnows trucking in a row, minnows mooching, what a show. There won't be a look inside at the catfish ball. That's a fun song. Again, Kim Richmond on the clarinet. So we're sort of at the end of our show here to highlight the songs from this beautiful show, and thank you for listening. And I hope this brought a little light and comfort and happiness into your world tonight. This is what I aim to do. I never quite know what I'm gonna do. We sort of just decide on that day, or sometimes, just right up with a little theme. But I try to keep it really fresh and real, and just kind of go out on a wire like we are going out every single day and every moment, just leaping out in faith. And I love this show. If there's anybody out there, who knows where we can go into a theater and take it next, or if anyone wants to take us to New York, we're okay with that too, But it's beautiful. And BuddyEbsenTribute.com is the website. It has a lot of information and clips and reviews, great reviews, and more information. And thank you for listening. I'm going to end with the show that we end with in the actual production. And yeah. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I've heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, the birds fly, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star, but wake up where the clouds are far behind me. Troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, the birds fly. Birds fly over the rainbow. Oh, why can't I? Happy little bluebirds fly Thank you. Good night, you guys.